Well, hey folks, my name is Brad, and if you happen to be new to my channel, I hike way up into the mountains of Vermont with my metal detector, searching for treasures lost by the pioneers that used to live up there. But it is currently rifle season here in Vermont, so I have found my way to a field that I have visited 3 times previously, and every single time I have found something incredible. Over a dozen 1700s coins, Colonial shoe buckles, military buttons from the Revolutionary War. Just under the ground in that field behind me once stood a home from around the 1770s, and I cannot wait to see what I find today. Now, if this is one of the first of my videos that you've seen, I publish one of these every single Friday. So if you like what you see here today, consider hitting that subscribe button or just come on back next week. If you find your way down into the description box below this video, I will also link the 3 other videos to this place. All right, no more talking. Let me get that metal detector out, see what we can find today. 76. Oh, silver plated spoon. It's a good sign, nice old. All right, in the tall grass, 86. Oh, what have we here? Holy smokes. Well, what we seem to have here is an old copper coin. It is very thin. Thin enough, I thought maybe it was going to be an old copper button with the shank torn off or removed. But I don't see any remnants of that. And honestly, I don't see any detail whatsoever. Unfortunately, when these copper coins spend hundreds of years in the ground, sometimes they lose all detail whatsoever. And that's even more prone to happen if these coins were floating around in pockets for 50, 70, 100 years before they were lost. This particular copper coin, though, I see something on it I have never seen on a coin before. This side is seemingly totally blank, but this side, it almost looks like there's 4 stars engraved in there. It's also possible that this is just an old coin that was smooth and somebody took the time to engrave a few stars into it. Some homemade project. What a cool find. All right, let's see what else we can find here. It's pretty nice sounding 81. Ooh, I know what that is. Do you? This tiny little fragment of brass is a piece of a Colonial shoe buckle. And I think that this place is not only where I have found the most fragments in one area, but also the most varied designs. Probably 5 or 6 different, totally different shoe buckles found here. Let's see. Oh, I think it's the flower. Totally nice. So I have found probably 4 or 5 pieces of this same shoe buckle. I'm assuming the same shoe buckle. Iconic Colonial artifact, shoe buckle, knee buckle, hat buckle. Beautiful piece too. Look at that. 72. Oh, nice. You know, it's funny, metal detecting old places like this. Thinking of the vast array of objects people would have had in their home, on their person, we always seem to find the same things metal detecting. Buttons, buckles, coins, thimbles. And you know, thimbles really haven't changed a whole lot over the time that Europeans were here in Vermont. So it's hard to say exactly how old this one is. But given what I know about this place, the other things we found here, it's not out of the question this one would be from the late 1700s when this kind of buried foundation was inhabited. And what we have here is a very standard stone thimble. And this was a farm, and I have heard and repeated myself over and over again that when folks were out in the field collecting the crops, whatever they were farming, they would be bagging them up and using these thimbles to sew up the bags. But you have to also remember they didn't have electricity back in those days, so if they wanted to do anything with a lot of light during the daytime, they would just go outside. You can imagine more than likely the lady of the house out here maybe sitting on one of these boulders that certainly haven't moved over the last 300 years, preparing clothes, putting on new buttons. For some reason they lost this particular thimble. Great find. I have found 50 thimbles now in my metal detecting career, sometimes multiple at the same place. Somewhat of a common find, but one I always enjoy finding because you can imagine the last time this saw daylight, it was more than likely on someone's finger repairing clothing hundreds of years ago. It has dirt in there right now. I'm going to leave it in there so it doesn't get crushed in my bag. We'll clean it up when we get home. Really nice. I love finding thimbles. It's hard for me to get a full swing on this target, so it might be a nail, but it's reading up 83, 92. It's hard to tell. Let's see. That is what? What are you? Well, that was a surprise. I was 90% sure this was going to be a nail, and it even looked like a nail when it kind of came out of the hole, although bent over. But upon closer inspection, it is made out of brass and decorative, although this doesn't look very nice. Maybe that's a flower on the end. It's kind of hard to tell. And when I first looked at this, I assumed it was going to be some kind of key. Not a key to unlock a door or a drawer or anything, but a kind of a key for a clock or a wind-up toy or something to that effect where you would turn it and this part here would activate the mechanism. But as I look at it more, this doesn't strike me as something that would be easy to turn. This is more likely a push-pull type of mechanism. For what? I have no idea. But once again, context matters. 15 feet away from where I'm sitting right now, there was a home in 1770 or so. I have to assume this came from that. It could have been dropped 5 years ago. I don't think so though, given the patina and how it's made. It's funny, I just got done saying that the vast majority of the things that we find metal detecting old places like this are always the same. Buttons, buckles, thimbles, pocket knives. There's an example of the contrary. Let me know your thoughts. All right, this is a very low tone, a 45, but I am right in the footprint of the building, so let's see what it is. All right, that appears to be a very old white bronze button, broken. A little bump in the middle. Those low tones are worth investigating, especially if you're in a really good spot. 81, real nice target. Oh, funny. Didn't expect that today. Well, this is the 4th time I've been to this farm. And thus far, I have found probably a dozen old coppers from the 1700s. Barely anything reached into the 1800s, let alone the 1900s. But what we just found here was what I thought was going to be a button, but it is actually a coin. And it's an old coin. It's an Indian head cent. Looks like 1879. Well, it's not 1770s like most everything else found here, but I'll take 1870s for sure. Not a modern coin by any stretch of the imagination. And it looks like it's going to be in very nice shape. It has that dark green patina on there. Love to see that. What a nice surprise. You know, this started out as a farm in the 1700s. It's still an active farm today, and there's been people farming here the whole time. And it's very likely they lost things all along the way. Here's proof of it. So cool. Let's see what else we can find. Well, this is more than likely iron, but given where we are, I want to see what it is. It's 75. Wow. Well, it would not be a Green Mountain metal detecting video without at least one pocket knife. At least that's the way it seems these last few months. But this one is without a doubt the oldest I have found this year, or in a long time, honestly. Both based on the history I know about this place and the size of the blade and how much it sticks out of the actual handle here. I can fairly confidently say that this pocket knife is from the late 1700s, early 1800s. Men in the Revolutionary War would carry knives very similar to this. And whenever I find a very old pocket knife, there's always a bunch of comments claiming or asking that it's actually a straight razor because of the size of it. And while we can't actually see the blade here very clearly because it is rusted and still closed, straight razor blades have not changed in a very, very long time, and they would have a very flat back with a very sharp concave grind on them, which this one is not. I'm also fairly confident the handles were usually bone or wood or something very pretty. This is a very utilitarian iron pocket knife, well over 250 years old. Fortunately, it is in terrible condition, but that's to be expected as it's been in the ground for a very long time. Very cool find. Because of how deteriorated it is, I'm not sure I'll take the time to clean it all up, but I certainly will hang on to it, put it in a box so that we remember where it came from. Let's see what else we can find here. All right, best target of the day, the one I'm most excited about, I think. 87. Sounds beautiful. What are you? That's Abraham Lincoln on a wheat cent. Unbelievable. Well, I'm along the edge of the field in the weeds. I got an 80. What are you? Well, it appears we have the day's mystery find here. You know, metal detecting in a place where I am positive somebody lived around 1770, 1780. They lost a whole bunch of stuff that I found previously. I'm also right next to a house that was built 1808 and it's been lived in ever since. So when I find something, I'm hoping it's from 1770, but you just never know. Now it's obviously crushed and broken, so I'm not exactly sure what it would have looked like when it was complete. But this back end at first reminded me of an antique whistle. I don't think that's what this is though, because of this very peculiar solid protrusion. My first instinct is that it's old, early 1800s. I will say it looks like it's decorative. It has some engraved lines here, has some engraved lines here. I really have no idea. Let me know what you think. This end here leads me to believe it might be for measuring gunpowder. It almost looks like it could be a toy cannon that exploded. Let me know your thoughts. I certainly believe it to be old, but what it is a mystery. All right, folks, well, it is only 4 o'clock, but it is late November, and the sun is already threatening to go behind one of our mountains over here, so unfortunately I need to get out of the field, go home before it gets too dark. Now the targets today were few and far between, but that makes sense. I had been here 3 times previously, and there is another gentleman that also metal detects here. So all of the nice, easy targets are now gone, out of the ground, but might still be worth taking another visit here someday in the future. I have everything I found today out on this rock. Let's take a look. All right, well, here is my little pile of treasures after metal detecting a corner of a field for about 7 hours today. Small pile, but I have found a ton of stuff here previously, so I'm not super surprised. Up here, out of frame, we have a couple pieces of horseshoe. We have a pet's collar, bracket of some kind. We have a very old, I would say late 1700s pocket knife. This is still a mystery. A brass bracket of some kind, silver-plated spoon. This is a very old piece of lead pewter, probably a utensil handle. A singular musket ball. We have an old thimble in wonderful condition. Our push-pull mechanism of some kind. Very small fragment of a Colonial shoe buckle with a wonderful little flower on there. 3 buttons, a suspender piece, and then 3 coins. A 1942 wheat cent, an 1879 Indian head cent, and the mystery copper, which I am 99% convinced it is a copper coin, but it seems to have been manipulated in some way with some engraved stars. All right, folks, well, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Thanks for watching, and hopefully I will see you here next Friday for another new adventure somewhere up here in the mountains of Vermont.